Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm your host. And joining me, as always, is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how you doing, pal?
Well, Jimmy, considering we're doing a podcast in person together, the amigos, pretty damn good.
Yes, sir.
Pretty damn good.
Honestly, we in 100 and almost 200 episodes, we've never ever done this in person, so it's kind of freaky.
Shameful.
if we didn't live a distance away. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me come into this place.
Joining me.
I'm joining you.
Home.
That's true. This is your home.
Our living room studio.
This is a beautiful home. Yeah, that's the next Patreon tier. We just make this studio. This is our studio now. $20,000 a month.
Indubitably.
All right, so because today is a little bit of a different situation, we're actually going to just talk about one thing, because we usually talk about like movies, games, TV shows, all that stuff. But we watched a movie the other day, and we want to talk about it. Ford versus Ferrari. Not a movie I would probably see myself, normally. But I knew it was coming out, and I wanted to come see it with this guy, because he loves his Fords.
Yeah, Friday evening, I get home from work late, and Jimmy calls me. Oh, you're sitting down for dinner, huh? Yeah, Hale's ordered a bit of pizza. Oh, mind if I stop by for a slice? Tink, tink, tink on my door. I'm like, hold on, somebody's at the door. I literally didn't put two and two together, even though I was like, funny you say that. Somebody literally just knocked on my door. I literally said that. So, impromptu, Jimmy came in. Indeed, did have a slice of pizza or two. And yeah, so yesterday, movie. Where were we? What was I answering?
We were talking about Ford versus Ferrari, and I think we'll do non-spoilers and spoilers.
Okay. So the synopsis.
Yeah.
Synopsis. All right. I'm going to go a little on script for this one.
On script. And
because we know how I can go on a tear,
This is Google?
Yeah, this is Google. Let's say, what is this? Google?
One of them. Potato,
whatever.
tomato. It's fine.
Tomatoes, potatoes, all that stuff. So, American automotive designer Carroll Shelby. Anybody know who he is? Anybody?
I knew a little bit, kind of. I figured, like, Shelby Mustang.
So, Carroll Shelby, very involved with the development of the GT40, Ford's first ever Grand Touring competition race car. Right?
And GT stands for what again?
I believe it's Grand Touring. I don't really know.
That is Grand Touring. Okay.
Grand Touring is what I've always heard.
Cool. Not Gran Turismo.
Or Great Thighs. I don't know.
There we go. The Great Thighs 40.
So about American automotive designer Carroll Shelby and fearless British race car driver Ken Miles. Corporate interference from Ford. Ford basically comes to Carroll Shelby because they're mad about getting put down by Ferrari and such. They're taking a new marketing stance on, hey, let's get into the racing scene. When somebody opens a Vogue magazine or something, who do they see lying on the beach? James Bond. What does he drive? Not a Ford.
Yeah.
He drives an Aston Martin, right?
Exactly.
Anywho, so they're trying to get into that more lucrative picture frame, so to speak. So they go offer to buy Ferrari. Ferrari insults the hell out of them and says buzz off. And then the next day gets bought out by Fiat because they were using them as, oh my God.
What?
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. You're right.
Spoiler alert!
That's okay. It's not a big. It's a historical biopic. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
that's what happened.
I
was gonna flip the spoiler switch later, but I mean,
dude, it's just a natural thing. I go right into the detail. I'm a very detailed person.
I know.
I can't even avoid it in person. I tell you what. So essentially, they're like they want to take it to Ferrari, show them who's boss, and they develop their own car. Who do they get? Carroll Shelby for it, right?
Yeah.
Carroll Shelby has a little bit of a pre-existing relationship with Ken Miles, kind of a local Southern California local race car driver. Good race car driver.
Yeah.
Bit of a temper, uncontrollable, that sort of thing. You'll see more in the movie if you see it. Matt Damon plays Carroll Shelby, and so many names. Christian Bale plays Ken Miles.
Yeah. 2 names. 4 names.
And we'll get into analyzing those in a minute. But, 4 names. Oh, God. Who else do we have in this? The corporate guys from Ford.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember their names offhand, but I remember him as the voice from Home Depot and also the bad guy in Hulk. So.
Yeah. And he does a good job in this.
Very good. He's perfect for it.
more on that in a minute. But then who else do we have? The marketing manager for Ford.
Oh, wait, John Bernthal.
John Bernthal.
The Punisher.
The Punisher.
He's here.
And doesn't necessarily fit that bill in this film.
No,
but
good for him. Breaking out.
Yeah. It was good to see him in it. Yeah. Well-fitted role for him. But needless to say, it's a decent roster here for sure. There's quite the main focus, so it doesn't go too broad. You're not getting overwhelmed with a lot of people involved. You got your main players and a few sides. So, really well done. They stick to the story well. I'm jumping all over the place.
That's okay.
My synopsis. Back to it. The development of the Ford GT. The GT40. Ford's first competition GT car. Yada, yada. I'm trying to think of how to keep this spoiler-ish free.
Well, it's okay. You don't have to. Or we can just flip the
So essentially, Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles work together. Ken Miles being the driver, testing the car, working on the car, etc. Shelby being kind of the go-between them and Ford, and also helping with input on the car, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And they basically are building a car in, what was it again? It was 90 days.
Yeah. A month and a half.
3
months, sorry.
Building something that compete with Ferrari. Ferrari, who at that time had spent all of their money to be competitive at Le Mans and win consistently. So Ferrari was kind of broke at the time, but still had their cars and their technology. They were just afloat, keeping their nose above water. But anywho, really that's it. Developing a car in 90 days to go to Le Mans and win. Well, we'll get into more detail later, but they show them going to Le Mans the first time, going to Le Mans the second time, which is the more important time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess we get into more spoilers.
Sure.
Is it a happy ending? No, but if you know any history about it,
if you know history at all, there's never a happy ending.
There's never a history.
Well, we can talk in broad strokes before we get into it. Like, would we recommend it? And I'm reading a review right here, and I think it's pretty spot on. Talking about, like, even if you're not into cars, you'll probably still enjoy it. Because I'm not really a car guy, but I still really enjoyed it because of the performances. Not so much like Matt Damon's great as always. But Christian Bale is like the reason to see this movie. Like, he's so good.
Oh, he's so
good.
Yeah,
he's good at like all of his acting jobs. Like, he's just so good.
Most definitely. Both of them together. I mean, good chemistry overall, I think, and the characters in general throughout this film. You know, there's the gentleman. You know, I'm not going through and searching up every name. We'll spend hours on this, but the gentleman who played Henry Ford II.
Yeah.
Did an excellent job.
He did a very good job.
You know, as I've grown older, looking at movies like this that are slightly less, you know, they're not a giant blockbuster action flick like, say, your Marvel movies or your DC comic movies, those sorts of things. This is a little more, like I said, it's more documentary-ish or historical-based accuracy, all that, whatever. I start to really look for, like, the mannerisms and how a real person would act in that situation. And every one of the characters in this movie hit it spot on.
Yeah, for sure.
Spot on. So
I want to know the name of the guy who played the guy for Ford, the marketing guy, because I need to know.
Well, there's John Bernthal, that was the head of marketing, and then there was the not CEO, but
so he
vice
played
president.
Leo Beebe was the name of the actual person, but Josh Lucas is the one who played him.
Yep,
that guy. He was great. Also, I liked the actress who played Ken Miles' wife. She was great too.
Oh yeah, she was really good.
She was really good. Is it Catriona Balfe or something like that? She was excellent. I thought she was really good.
I won't try. Tracy Letts.
And he played Henry Ford II.
Tracy Letts.
Good for him. It's weird to see him with hair.
He did an excellent job.
He did an excellent job.
But obviously your two front runners playing Carroll Shelby and Ken Miles, Christian Bale, Ken Miles, and
for sure,
Carroll Shelby, Matt Damon.
I was also interested to find out too what the box office was doing, because it said the budget was like 96 or 97 million.
Okay,
which is pretty good. The movie looks really good, and it's directed by James Mangold, who you guys probably know from Logan and other things.
Which is surprising to me a little bit.
Well, he's a character. He's character, right? Terrific $31 million weekend. That doesn't seem super good, but for this type of film, that's probably going to be really good.
Yeah, in my eyes, I feel like it should do better. There are so many car enthusiasts out there. You'd think they'd be all about this. I mean, Carroll Shelby alone, that name.
Oh,
Ken Miles a little more lesser known.
21.4 across or overseas. So that's 52.4 million all over. So, yeah, this will probably still be a success in the long run.
In the long run, most definitely.
And this is from Fox, which is weird because that's Disney now. So when they played that logo, which also had an issue when it played, it like stopped for a second and then it came back.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Oh, I did. I was like watching you. Yeah, no. I don't know. There's not too much for me to complain about, honestly.
I didn't have anything to complain about. In all honesty,
except that it's long. This is 2.5 hours, so get ready for that. Do not go in and think it's going to be quick.
But they don't really skip any beats. They kind of stick to the storyline. Yeah. There's the history there, and it's known, and they do a good job of sticking to it and really showing it off well. I will say one thing. You get some goosebumpy moments out of this movie, for sure. Mm. Like some of the engine starts and then the kind of crazy moments of them testing the car, or when big spoiler because it is a big moment in the movie-ish, Carroll Shelby takes Henry Ford II for a ride in his car that he's funded. And awesome moment. Even the end of that sequence is cool in its own right, a little more laughable, but leading up to that, it was great.
Some good acting.
Yeah. Just super well done and a little goosebumpy to start. I love the way that car just Anywho, love
those cars.
Yeah, I do. This thing just has all the right vibes. It's really well done. Kind of set mostly in California. Then they travel to races and whatnot. So getting a little more into the spoilers, if you want a little more detailed summary, you kind of go through their first development of the GT40 that first year.
Yeah.
Ken Miles, Carroll Shelby working on it out of this hangar. They've got the 90 days to work with. And Ken Miles finds out due to pressure from corporate at Ford, they want a different face in the windshield of their car. So they don't want Ken Miles to drive. Yeah. And at this point, they kind of grin and bear it kind of a thing. And Ken's slightly upset. You can tell, but handles it in kind of like that suck it up and bottle it up way.
Yeah.
And he's listening to their first Le Mans attendance. He's listening to it over the radio as he's working on one of the cars in the hangar. And he's commenting, and he's actually like fixing stuff as he hears the performance of the car at the race. He's like working on little nuances, and he's like, clearly the gearbox is too hot at this time of the day, or the sun should be rising there. I mean, stuff like that. It's really interesting, and some of the details they go into. But so needless to say, Ford does not win that first year attendance at the Le Mans, and I think they did somewhat mediocre. They were in there, but I think they faded. And so that second year, it's a whole different feeling, and I think Henry Ford II was kind of like, we in this.
Yeah.
Like, we got to do it. And so next thing you know, their commitment to racing is even a little stronger going in that second year. Ken Miles is the driver. Carroll Shelby fights for him a little bit and whatnot. They race, I forget what it was, Sebring, Daytona, 24-hour races, and then leading up to Le Mans. They will only let Ken Miles drive at Le Mans if he wins Daytona.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the... I felt like that was one of the cooler moments in the movie when he wins at Daytona.
Well, I feel like he has to win, though. Like, he has to win because otherwise the movie's done.
But we also have to remember it's not a fictional
I didn't know he went to... I thought it was 1 year later for Le Mans. They went to Le Mans when he's listening to the radio. That was Le Mans?
Yeah.
That really... Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were over in France.
They did say France. I didn't know if it was another racing junket.
Yeah.
So...
yeah. Maybe that wasn't Le Mans. Maybe it was Sebring. Maybe I have it mixed up. I don't know the history that well.
Sure.
Like, I know who Carroll Shelby is and all that, and I know
there's a timetable or something.
I know about the Shelby Cobras and all that stuff, but I'm not up on the total history, so don't hold me to the irons on anything. But so when he wins the 24 hours at Daytona, boom, and the fashion at which he wins that was just ooh. which happened, which is even cooler.
Yeah.
That it's not like some just boisterous fictional thing that gets
Nope.
you going.
It's real.
Like, this is good old boys. It happens. And it's admirable. It really is. And so anywho, he wins. They go to Le Mans. And at first, if you don't know the history, you're like, man, are they going to win? Is it going to happen? You know,
Yeah, that's true. I didn't know.
I don't know. It's a long sequence of the movie, really. That final session,
and it should be
when they're at Le Mans. Yeah, and it's the main focus, right? Getting there, winning.
Yeah.
So they take their time with it, but they do a really good job with it. I won't lie. The way in which, I mean, they actually got cars on the track. I'm not sure how the way in which they filmed all the racing and everything.
CG was used, I think,
somewhat somehow.
Yeah,
I'm sure, but like especially for like the wrecks and things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But and I mean, I know GT40s are out there. Most of them, retired in museum floors and such. But it was awesome. I love the way in which they filmed the racing. This wasn't like your NASCAR movie, Days of Thunder.
Yeah, I was wondering like what those look like nowadays, and it's funny too to think that like this movie's all about racing, but first it's about the perception of Ford being cooler and being victorious, because Ferrari, if you drive a Ferrari, you're the victor because they've won Le Mans 4 years in a row, and so that's what they're going for. And then after they couldn't work with Ferrari or buy off Ferrari, the reason that Henry Ford II got into it is because the leader of Ferrari basically said, your boss is fat, he's pig-headed, but also he's not his granddad. Like, he's not Henry Ford. And then he was like, I will write a blank check. He's like, we're going to bury this guy. Like, that was all he wanted to do. He didn't care. Like, he saw the race start. He got in a helicopter with his family to go out for a meal, and then they came back, like, in the morning. Like, they didn't care to stay there. Like, Henry Ford did not care. The second, he was like, I'm out.
There's a split second midway through when Carroll Shelby has him in the car that you almost admire him just a little bit.
You think he's going to turn.
Wow, he's not the worst person. But then it continues and you're like, he kind of is.
Yeah.
And in the grand scheme, he's just, no.
And like like the leader of Ferrari like kind of hates him, and you kind of still see that all the time. It's like, it looks like what's his face went off in a helicopter or whatever.
Oh yeah, like, of course subtitles, like, they're accurate. They speak Italian, so they'll do subtitles for that. And then there's a moment where he's talking to one of his crew or guys, and he was like, "Did you see that fat slob take off in a helicopter? Can't even something about a car or I don't know." He was accentuating the fact that he's very arrogant, doesn't give a crap, pompous, that sort of thing. And for the most part, he's very right. He's correct.
No, which must have been weird to sign off on for the Ford family. I keep thinking about that. They probably had to get a lot of sign-offs for like, this is how we're going to portray your grandfather or whatever they had to do. Yeah,
I wonder how they felt about that. No big deal. It's how he was. He was a bit of an asshole, but look what he built.
Sure.
I guess there's credit owed there somewhere.
Yeah.
So
we need to give it a rating though, so the people know.
I'm going to give it a couple ratings. Here's how this is going to happen. So
what? Unprecedented.
If you're a car guy, there was a moment in that movie where they talked about feeling the machine between your butt in the seat in the car, feeling that machine, the way it's reacting, the connection to the engine, and having some idea of where the threshold is, and understanding how that machine feels at that moment and how to direct it, react with it, that sort of thing. I mean, it really was artful, and the writing was spectacular for that. But it was Ken Miles talking, and it was really interesting. I can appreciate that, having 40 pounds ago racing motocross and stuff of that nature. And, I've driven my fair share of cars, equipment, trucks, everything. And any experience with some sort of machine with an engine, etc. I'm all about, right? And I kind of grew up that way, and lucky to have the chance. But that connection to something with an engine and kind of having an idea of what the threshold is and the way it's going to react to the terrain you're on or that corner and stuff like that. I won't regurgitate that line. I think it's a line that you need to look for in the movie if you go see it. But it was a very profound and kind of like a...
Well, they say it twice, and both of them say it, I think. Because at the end, Carroll Shelby's saying it. He's like that when you get to 7,000 RPMs.
Oh, yeah.
That part, is that what you meant?
It was a little different from Ken. I think he was talking to his son.
Oh, that's a different part where he's talking about instead of tunneling, you get to see the whole picture. Yeah, that was cool.
And something about the threshold of a vehicle and having some idea about it and that connection to something. It's more than just a machine. It's a man. What's the word that they kept saying? It was a man, space and time, moving something.
A man moving through space and time, or just a
it's
person
not
moving
just
through space.
A person moving through space and time. It's more than. I mean, there are some good.
So that's a 10 out of 10. Is that what you're trying to say for a car guy?
if you are a car guy and you can appreciate those things, or that line kind of resonates with you, like connection between man and machine and how important that is to you. If you go to this movie, and if you're a Ford guy, geez, Lou, I mean, you're going to drool, but it really is an impactful, interesting, and sometimes edge of your seat movie.
Yeah.
I would honestly give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
As a car guy, maybe even more. I mean, there aren't really any flaws with it. How do you make it better? I mean, well, it is what it is. It's history. Sure. I think you couldn't have cast it any better. There aren't any, per se, cheesy moments or anything. It's just really well done. Little spouts of humor in there, which I'm sure are true little things that, guys like Carroll Shelby probably would have done back then. And Ken Miles was interesting in his own right. But, I mean, for a car guy, let's bump it to a 9.5. I mean, perfection doesn't exist, right?
Well, I don't know.
It's staying there. It really is great.
Yeah.
The ending of the movie and how they win Le Mans and all that. And spoiler, oh God, but they win? Well, I mean, if you're a car guy, you know.
Clearly I didn't know.
Anywho, ending's impactful, really cool and all, and cool to see the way they handled it and that sort of thing. Just all around great. From the general audience, you were talking about this review that you were kind of side-eyeing over here, Jimmy. One of the things that caught my eye was zesty acting. Zesty acting. I like that.
Yeah, zesty. It's zesty. They make
zesty. Ken Miles, you got a hot salsa, but you got that little zest of lime in there.
Ken Miles is like they make him the most Britishy British person though. Like the way he talks is very
a little bit, but he was truly,
and maybe he did talk that way.
Yeah,
I love a period piece though. This is set in the 1960s. Was it 60s?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they won it from 67 to 69 or something like that.
Okay,
or
that's
66 to 69, something like that.
Yeah.
But for the general audience, I mean, I think those are things that you can go in expecting. You get a lot of real nice, zesty acting, something that kind of gets your blood pumping a little bit. It's not necessarily boring in any way as you would expect something like this to be. It does kind of keep you on the edge of your seat a little bit. And overall, I think it might turn you into a little bit of a car person.
This is from Nick D. Semelian from Empire. Zesty acting. Thanks, Nick.
Empire Magazine. Yeah, thank you. No, I think that's a good term, zesty. I like it.
So you're giving it...
I don't mean to steal it.
Fine. So you give it a 9 overall.
Okay, so if we average it out, a 9.
A 9, okay.
Car guy, 9.5. Average person, maybe an 8.5.
Sure. See, that's I was going to say my average. That score for me is like 8.5, I would think. It's not that there's anything wrong with
coming from not
a
necessarily
car person.
A car
yeah,
guy.
I thought it was good. It's long, but I mean the performances are good, and it's one of those things I think is going to sit better with you the first time you watch it because you know it's going to happen the second time. Like it takes a little bit out of it. Knowing that, which is not a problem, but
this is a movie, honestly, I don't know if I'd rewatch over and over.
Yeah, no, but it's got an edge. It looks good. There really doesn't feel like there's anything they cheaped out on, and the period piece of it all, they did a really good job with that too.
Oh yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
100% accurate.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's our brief little Ford versus Ferrari review we're doing here together. We're not going to be able to do this all the time because unfortunately we live kind of far away from each other. But if you want, I will make that Patreon tier. That's a heck of a commute though. But thank you for coming or for allowing me to come to your house to do this.
Indubitably.
He didn't even know. I just forced it on him.
I couldn't say no.
Don't worry. You're going to see this guy. We're going to be together a few more times here coming up here in the next couple of months. So Indubitably.
Big plans.
Thank you, though, for being on as per usual. Joe, actually, should I go first? If they want to reach us, or are we doing
if they want to reach us, they can tweet at me at Lever_627. That's Lever, just like Beaver, only with an L. If they want to reach you, Jimmy,
you can find me. I'm at JimmyGood013. It's really freaky to hear that in person. So it's good. It's a good thing. Yeah. It's good. Hopefully we can do more stuff like this in the future. We'll just do it.
I'd say so.
I'll bring this. Maybe I'll just bring the mic to our trip. I'll just sit down at the end of every day.
Go on, spoilers.
Okay, I've gone home. Don't everybody worry about it. I went home because I just couldn't. I'd stay at Joe's house forever if I could. I'm not going to, but I'm home now. But now we're going to talk a little bit about news in this crazy hodgepodge of an episode. And Joe, hit us with some sweet news, baby.
Hit you with some sweet news. Let's see. Oh no, I wasn't prepared with it. I'm sorry, Jimmy. Coming back to the podcast, and I'm not even.
I drove home, and you weren't ready for news. I gave you so much time. I'm kidding. This is definitely
darn shame. Here we go. I think I found it. I know what they are. I just don't know the proper names for them.
What does it have to deal with?
I feel like I have to do them justice. All right, Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Thought, oh, what a great expansion, right?
Yeah.
Great expansion. It should have been $60.
At least. You know? I would have paid $100
I mean, it's a full game in itself. It's freaking great.
Mm-hmm.
They released a new monster midway through it. We got Rajan, the primate, or the great ape, whatever you want to call that annoying piece of crap with the monkey butt.
Yeah. The baboon.
But yeah. Actually, it's probably more of a baboon, a really large, angry baboon.
Yeah.
Just when we thought it couldn't get any better, we already get a new monster in there, kind of sparks some interest. Then you realize you don't want to fight him anymore because he's a pain in the ass. Boom! They hit us with some more news. As of 11/25/2019, we have news that they are releasing 2 more new monsters.
I can't take it. It's too much.
It is too much. It's invigorating. It's mind-blowing. It's very exciting.
Yes, it is.
So let's get into it here. All right. New monsters. Number 1, not the most hypeable monster ever, but still I think a nice addition and should be fun. It's called the Stygian Stygian.
Oh, Stygian.
Stygian.
Like the Stygian. Yeah, maybe.
Anywho, essentially I think that's going to be like a dragon form of Zinogre with like dragon lightning and stuff, and he's all like raged out looking. Very cool.
That's really cool.
I'm all about it. And then the next one, which is probably the bigger deal. They don't have a name for it yet. Okay. It's just a black dragon.
Okay, cool.
Black dragon. And unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be as impressed as you might have been. It's very large. It's black with some green accents, kind of thundery looking.
Sounds good to me.
It is comparable to a Xenojiva.
Oh, really? Jiminy Christmas. That's impressive. What do you mean?
It's going to be a big deal, probably a little storyline in its release. So, you fight it for the first time. It might be some little spectacle.
Okay.
But I'm all about it.
That's some good news. I think, and I'm guessing these are for free, as it were. But I think that just goes to show that Monster Hunter, not only being just a success here in the Western market, but just it's so cool to see a game constantly get supported like this, even after an expansion, when they could have just easily like put the expansion out, tuned it up a little bit here and there, and then just gone on to be like, all right, Monster Hunter World 2, whole team, let's go. But it's really nice to see that they're still supporting it.
Yeah, I mean, you almost don't need a Monster Hunter World 2. If you keep doing expansions like Iceborne and keep just growing the same base game, you could really end up with something just spectacular.
Sure, yeah. I wonder if it's just like, I don't know if it's an engine thing or if they're looking, towards like the next console generation. So that way, when it does get to that point, they'll be like, hey, Monster Hunter World 2 is actually on Xbox 1.2, or the next Xbox and PlayStation 5. Maybe so that's a thought.
Kind of call it at some point.
But maybe that next one, Joe, you might be right. Maybe the next one will be like that, where it's like, hey, we're just going to do pretty, like kind of like an MMO, where it's like every couple of years, or every year and a half, we're going to try to do like a pretty significant expansion to the game. I would be all about that. That's fine That's fine by me, and I am so happy to give them money because it is just it's not only a joy, but it's just I feel privileged because like I feel like there's such a good faith handshake on Monster Hunter now. Like after that base game, it's like I met these people for the first time and I shook their hand like with every game, but this one is like I put my hand on top of that handshake, my left hand, and they put their left hand on top of the handshake too, and we both are just smiling and just shaking. It's just been like that for 2 years, where we're just like, this is great. Like, and we haven't stopped, and we're bowing to each other and stuff, and it's just like, I love you so much. Where have you been my whole life? And they're like, we've been looking for you.
The moment of embrace.
It's I just want to hug these people at this point. Like, I really want to meet this team and just be like, I love all of you. Again, I'll get frustrated with the people who helped make Kieran, but beyond that, some of my favorite people, and I'm excited to jump back in, and like not jump back in. It's like we're kind of, it might be like a week or two between like spurts for us, but we are playing pretty consistently still. So
I'd say so. I mean, how many hours did you think you put in Iceborne?
I put in at least 100.
Okay, and I've got a little less than you. I'd say I've got like 70.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and remember, 100 hours is like 5 days. So I think I don't know, and that's since September. So yeah, and yeah, there's some late nights. The problem with Monster Hunter is like, not only is it really addicting, but I can do things that don't necessarily progress me when I'm working like with Joe on something. Like I might do a full night of stuff that has nothing to do with anything I want to like get done, but it's still really fun. So that's just the mark of a good game.
Yeah, Jimmy is a hammer longsword guy, nothing but. Every once in a while he'll craft something, but he's got his armor set. He likes it. It works. It does what he wants, and now it's all about just killing.
I am, and I do the glaive once in a while though, right?
You do. I'll give you that.
I just can't. I miss like the speed eating and the healing ability of the Valhazak armor. And I know people out there is like, oh, there's a really good longsword build. There's a really good, hammer build. And I've tried to look them up, but there's just something about that combo that I like this armor set.
You know what's interesting? Of all the endless combinations you can do, I like builds for convenience, like your speed eating or your speed recovery, your health recovery, or even your health. Vitality, your overall health bar. Right now I feel like the Shara Ishvalda full armor set with the Valhazak Greaves or Vembraces, excuse me, is a pretty good build. Lots of nice dual slots. I can get a lot of critical draw and critical draw and critical eye. Not to mention my vitality, health recovery is all like level 5. So I'm pretty, I don't want to say unstoppable, but like I can take a beating and keep dishing one out myself, and then go heal.
Yeah.
So, and just saying that's my build right there. I didn't even bother making the Vembraces from Shara Ishvalda because I looked at the slots. I'm like, no, the Valhazak actually benefits me more, And you've done the same thing. You run like a Basil Helm with Valhazak, other things, and
yes,
and it just works because you like earplugs. Well, and there's a convenience in that. When he's roaring, you get a chance to get some big hits in, right? And so there's this meta that you can build yourself to capitalize on certain things while the rest of your team is doing something a little different, but still contributing in a different way that helps. And I've looked up all these interesting, like best build for greatsword, best build for longsword, best build for bow, and what gems you need, or decorations. And at the end of the day, that's all cool, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, I could maybe build that. I might want to do that because I like running that once in a while. Well, then I'm like, no, let's see what I can build on my own and see if I can make one of those cool mixed match sets that really works well.
Yeah.
I think I've struck that with a couple builds, depending on my mood and depending on the monster I'm going after, obviously. But I like to change it up. I might have a build that I make that's convenient for one monster or convenient for doing certain things. But then, every once in a while I want a style change up or something of that nature, or going against a different monster. I like to switch it up. Like I'll go from my Shara build to my Valkana build, for that coalescence and stuff. And and I enjoy that variability. And there's still armor sets that I want to make just for different tactics.
Sure.
And so I still see myself putting in 100 hours in this expansion, especially with new monsters coming out and really going for broke on it. And I don't feel like I wasted my $40. So thank you to the Monster Hunter Capcom crew for constantly expanding and new monsters. Awesome.
Yes.
All about it.
Yeah. For sure. Yep. You were talking about your armor. I mean, you just find the perfect armor for yourself and you're good to go. Yeah. I just need like a Ruiner Narragigante set so that way I could start getting my health back with all these different things.
To see what that looks like.
Yeah, it's got to be in the game. I'm sure it's there. I miss the reason I like the Narragigante set, everybody, is because consecutive attacks can give you like a chunk of health back, and I like that sort of thing. It's kind of like a Wolverine mentality, kind of like you're healing, but like a chunk because you're aggressive too. It's like a berserker thing. I don't know. Anyway, I'm excited about the new monsters, and
aesthetics plays a big part too, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I like having my basil helm, looking good, feeling good. I look like a Dragon Ball Z character, and I love earplugs. A lot of people are probably like, "That's stupid." I'm like, I love it. Anyway, besides the Monster Hunter thing, there's
1 hour later.
Yeah, there's not a lot of news really this week. So that was kind of like, I know it's kind of a weird episode where we had like the Ford versus Ferrari stuff at the beginning, a little bit of news in the middle here, and now we're going to segue into that that part of the show that I like to call, Joe likes to call, we both like to call
Time Killers.
That's right.
Notice my pause. I just wanted to get you caught in this.
I did, yeah. I jumped back to you on the thing, so I was stuck here like
you did it.
I'm editing on the fly now, so that's why you hear the clicks. Yeah, it's the games we've been playing, the TV shows we've been doing, the movies we've been watching. Joe, I know you've got a lot to say tonight, so let me go first. That way you can have your piece. I'm gonna give like a little mini review thing here, and I need to know like people who hear this if they do want a full formal review, because I realized I'm gonna have Games Pass Ultimate for a little while longer than I had originally anticipated. That's totally fine, but I played through the entirety of the campaign of Gears of War 5. Now, I was waiting because I wanted to play with a buddy, but nobody'd play with me, and that's okay because it allowed me to kind of actually fully engross myself in the story and the lore, which I absolutely love. And Gears of War is one of the only 2 franchises, I think, ever that I've actually read a book for, and I read 2 books for it. Believe it or not, I read 2 novels.
How long was the campaign, Jimmy?
The campaign, that's a great question. So, the campaign has 2, okay, spoilers potentially, but there's 2 open world segments in there, which is really brand new for Gears of War. So depending if you go and do these side optional missions, it can be a bit longer. I would say my campaign runtime was probably, oh my gosh, 15 to 20 hours, and I was playing on hardcore, or the second to hardest difficulty, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend people do that. I realized that with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order as well. Just because I can play on like the difficulty above normal, I don't think it really makes it more fun for me, because I was dying to explosions a lot that if you're playing on normal or a lesser difficulty wouldn't necessarily kill you immediately. So sometimes I would die without having the ability to counteract it at all. Like it would just be like someone threw a grenade as I walked into a new area, and it'd be like beep, 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 and it'd just blow me up immediately. So it's just like, but yeah, so about that, and I did almost all the side objective stuff that I could. There was maybe a few things that I missed, but yeah, I was kind of digging, kind of going around open world Gears of War, which again, brand new feature to the game, and I was not prepared for. On this really cool thing, Joe, I think you'd like it. They call it the skiff, and it's this kind of sled attached to a snowboard that has like a big kite in front of it, and the person who's on the snowboard kind of directs the kite, and it's kind of like parasailing almost, or like sand surfing. And you might look at it and be like, oh, that doesn't make any sense, but the feel of it, it's really nice, and you slide around. It's almost Mad Maxian, and it's really cool because the 2 big areas you get to be kind of traversing, like a snowy area and more of like a desert area. It's really fun to just kind of be like, man, I'm like sliding and jumping off these hills and things, and there's jumps and things. It's like, oh yeah, this is kind of fun. Cool. But yeah, interesting game, and focuses on Kate, who was one of the characters, one of the leads back in Gears of War 4. Infinitely more interesting than JD, the main character of the last game, who is the son of the infamous Marcus Phoenix, one of my favorite video game characters of all time. I love Marcus Phoenix, voiced by John DiMaggio, I believe. Not Joe DiMaggio, John DiMaggio. Check him out. He also voiced Bender from Futurama, Jake the dog over on Adventure Time, amongst a bunch of other things. He is very well known and has one of the greatest voices in voice acting, and just hearing his, like, that's where I kind of got my first lead into his voice acting besides Bender and stuff. But to hear him go full gravelly and just swearing and being so angry is so much fun. And he does an excellent job with it. And I want more Marcus, but at the same time he's older, so I don't want him in the field very much, because I just want him to like retire and not die, you know. Like, get out of here, Marcus. But yeah, so it's the story of Kate and her lineage tied to the actual Locust Swarm, the bad guys from the original kind of trilogy of Gears of War. So you get to go kind of on this interesting journey that does a lot of callbacks for fans. So if you're a Gears of War fan, you'll be going back to some places you haven't seen in a couple of games, which is a lot of fun for me. So I would recommend it. If you are a Gears fan, you probably already played it. And if you're not really indoctrinated into the Gears of War lore, I think you could still appreciate kind of what they're going for here, and kind of the bigger steps they're taking with the franchise that we haven't really seen them do yet. And I appreciated that. I didn't play the multiplayer. I haven't played Horde mode. I can't really speak to any of that. And there's that other new mode where it's like 3 players and you set a bomb and try to like run out of a place. Like you try to like escape a place as quickly as possible, but like killing on the move. So it's a very more aggressive Gears of War gameplay mode, and I'd like to try. Cool. I think you'd like it too, Joe. But the actual campaign itself is 3-player, and it's interesting because you can play one of the 2 main characters, or you can play as Jack the robot. And in this game, the side missions are all about like getting components for Jack, upgrading him, and making his abilities even stronger. So you're kind of pseudo Tony Stark in it sometimes, because you're kind of like, you're telling this little robot to go do things and during fights, and he's really interesting. So if you want to play 3-player, there is that option. One of you just has to be Jack, and that doesn't mean that you just have to go around and heal people. You can actually zap things and kill things, and you can do stuff as Jack, which I thought was a lot of fun. I was like, that's cool. I didn't play as him, I just saw him. But I thought that was interesting, because they haven't done a 4-player campaign for, I think, since Gears of War 3? Maybe Judgment had it? I think it was only 3 that had it. But yeah, really cool game. And for a Gears of War lore buff that I was like, there's a lot in there that I really enjoyed and appreciated to know more about. There's a lot of world building here, and a lot of there's a few different segments where you actually got to kind of explore a space that wasn't under siege, and I thought that was really fun to do, because mostly in Gears of War it's like it's very linear, straightforward, you're killing in this direction, but this game allows you to kind of sit back and enjoy a little bit what Gears of War has to offer. So yeah, like I said, if people really want a full review of it, just let me know, and I will work on that, but it'll probably be a while. Anyway, that's what I've been killing time with besides Star Wars Rebels, which is great. Everybody should check that show out. It made me tear up the other night. I didn't think it would do that, because I didn't really think I had emotional investment in these characters, but it did, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Star Wars Rebels, huh?
Yeah, it's a kind of a sequel to the Star Wars Clone Wars in a respect as far as animation goes, but this show takes place between Revenge of the Sith and Episode 4, A New Hope. One of my favorite time periods of Star Wars, where they come out of the prequels into the original trilogy. And
New Hope is where they destroy the Death Star, correct?
Very good. Yes, the first Death Star. And also it's weird because the prequel, in the prequels they have all like the shiny, nice, like kind of smooth edged vehicles and stuff, and then it just takes like a hard turn into being like, well, no, it's all gritty and hard edges and stuff. At the end of Revenge of the Sith, you like see Vader walking around, and it's like, oh, I guess technology has shifted in the last 10 minutes, which is fine. They had to kind of bookend it, but yeah, there's that. And yeah, just kind of enjoying Disney Plus. I'm still digging it, and I think we're probably going to talk about that now, aren't we, Joe?
You know, Jimmy, speaking of Star Wars
and Disney Plus,
couldn't be a more, and Disney Plus, it really could not be a more perfect segue for me.
Thank you.
I know we've already said our part, or you have said your part on The Mandalorian, right? And we talked a little Disney Plus and all. I mean, we all knew it happened, right? Like, we wouldn't talk about it.
What's Disney Plus? I know Disney Plus.
Would you have ever expected I get Disney Plus to watch The Mandalorian? And would I ever talk about it on a podcast?
I was hoping we were going to do it when I came to visit you, but we never did.
Yeah, we should have.
We watched The Flash or the flush, as I like to call it. I'm just kidding.
I mean, the Flash isn't the worst.
No, he's not the worst. I just like putting U's in every word now. Nude flax. The floosh. I love the floosh.
Anywho, so here's the deal. We were even talking before the podcast, before we started. You know, I brought up the news with the new monsters being announced on Monster Hunter and whatnot, and you know, I start to discover these things through YouTube rabbit holes. Right? I spend entirely too much time on YouTube, or I'll queue up videos and literally listen to them as I'm working at the office and stuff, just for background noise. Right? Well, lo and behold, I start to stumble upon these Star Wars things now and again, because for some reason one day I decided to look up lightsabers and different types because I was curious. Which, by the way, at Disneyland and Disney World, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, making your own lightsaber seems actually pretty cool. Like, it looks like a cool experience. And I mean, if you're into Star Wars enough and really know enough to make it meaningful to you, I think $200 is a small price to pay. I think the harder part is the weight, but it does look really cool. I watched a video on that of people doing it, and it's neat. They also have like a gift shop where you can buy other crystals for your saber and change them out and stuff. And they have basically every color you could ever want except for the black. Which, what did they call the name of the black blade?
The black saber?
No, yeah, there's a special name for a black crystal, and it's a synthetic one, more powerful than the red. Not the most powerful, believe it or not.
What's the most powerful?
The most powerful, apparently, is considered the ghost crystal, so the white lightsaber, because apparently it's invisible and does not make a noise when you charge your blade or engage it.
That's scary.
Yeah, so for anybody dueling with somebody with a white lightsaber, you literally have to watch their hilt as they're moving it because you can't always see it. I suppose you might see it a little better if it was like, per se, in the dark, something like that, but they talk about it. The black lightsaber, oh god, I had all this history I could lay on you. Like, I was watching videos on it, and there was a Sith a long time ago that became super powerful, and he had this lightsaber that was a black crystal, and I forget the name of it. It starts with an L.
I was trying to look it up. Keep talking.
Okay, yeah. No need for elevator music. He infused so much of the dark side within this blade that it was like ultra powerful. And eventually, I think when he died, his essence is still alive within the dark side to an almost scary extent. And he and they actually locked away his blade in a vault where nobody should hope nobody will ever stumble upon it or find it. Yeah, because it has power alone to wield somebody to the dark side almost immediately. It could corrupt almost anyone effortlessly, apparently, is the deal. So, totally interesting. I got sucked into that one. I was like, wow, I need a black lightsaber. Like, if I was to make my own, I'd be like, you know, they'd come up to me and be like, which crystal will you choose, sir? I'll be like, where's the black one?
Well, I think I'm just seeing it says Darksaber here. You found a different name for it, though.
The actual crystal, they call it something. It starts with an L.
Okay. Also, I think they do make the black ones. I think you can make a black one at Disney World.
Oh my god, I would lose my mind. I might actually spend the money to do it. And I'm
not
even a big Star Wars fan.
I was gonna say, if you make a lightsaber, I'm gonna be like, I'll be like, I'll start swearing and I'll get myself a red one and I'll be like, Joe's making a lightsaber, I'm making a lightsaber.
I mean, I almost think you should do it if you want to or would like to. You should. Obviously, you know, if a black wasn't the choice, I know they have purple and I think white is an option, but you have to buy that crystal separately. I honestly think I would probably choose red just because, I mean, if I was in that world, yeah, I'd be pretty maybe not dark side, but you know, I would be indifferent.
Yeah, no, you can do that. They're called gray Jedi. I think that's more. They toe the line.
There's a spot for me in this world.
There's a spot for everyone. That's the great thing about Star Wars, baby. Like, wherever you want to be, you can be in it. Welcome, join us, won't you?
But so I totally got sucked down that rabbit hole, and I watched like top 10 Sith Lords ever.
Oh Oh my
stuff
gosh,
like
Joe!
that.
I didn't realize you went this. This is amazing.
And I was actually kind of impressed by it. There are some cool characters. There's one called Darth. Oh, I wanted to make it a point to remember the name, but he's like the ghost Sith. And he literally, to survive, he had like an insatiable hunger, and he kept consuming the life essence of others, especially Jedi. And apparently he was pretty much unstoppable, and I think his master trained him eventually to devour whole worlds, life forces, the life forces of whole worlds. And I forgot how they stopped him or whatever, but I think in fact that's the one that's still like at large, is like a ghost spirit within the dark side, something of that nature. It was really interesting. He's also very cool looking. Very
Is that the
crazy.
one who poured himself into the helmet?
The mask.
The mask, yeah, dude.
Yeah. So he was basically not unkillable wouldn't be the term, but immortal.
Yeah.
Like totally immortal. So yeah, really cool. I mean, if you ever get a chance to look back on the history and all the Sith, the Sith, how would you even say the plural form of that? The Siths that have existed.
You can. I think it's just
cool.
just the it's the
All
plural.
the Sith that have existed. Yeah.
Yeah, as the singular, it's like Jedi.
Yeah. No.
It's like fish.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, very, very interesting. There's quite a history there that maybe isn't totally known beyond literature.
Well, a lot of it became called extended universe or expanded universe, extended universe stuff, because we talked about that when Disney acquired them. They basically said like, all right, just the movies and Star Wars, Clone Wars TV show are like pretty much the canon stuff, and all this stuff, other stuff's now not in canon. That doesn't mean they can't use it. It's just because they couldn't control it. And one of those things was like when Chewbacca got crushed by a moon on a planet. They're like, that happened in a comic. So they're like, yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, I mean, talk about a rabbit hole. It's actually pretty cool. And part of the reason why it started to grab me more was because it almost started, especially with a lot of that like Sith history, it started to have much more of like, it just had the right vibe to me, and kind of spoke more to me than like say the movies actually do. It was kind of interesting, like it almost had like a Lord of the Rings vibe to it.
There we go.
Especially the characters and everything.
Yeah, dude.
It almost had a more medieval feel. Yeah, it's still space and planetary in the universe and whatnot, but it was very much horror-esque to some degree. Some of these Sith members were just crazy.
Yeah. Pretty great, huh?
Yeah. So it really kind of sparked my interest some more, and so essentially recently, yesterday, I downloaded Disney Plus. So I watched the first 2 episodes of The Mandalorian, and the only thing that I was really disappointed in was that they're only 30 minutes long.
I've heard this sentiment echoed, and my joke was this. Okay, if they're 10 episodes, Disney was like, we said 10 episodes. We never said how long they're going to be. So I keep thinking that by the 10th episode, it's going to be like 30 seconds. It'll just be like, all right. They just keep like just chopping it down.
They've never said anything about the length. Are they intending to make them longer?
I don't know. But yeah, so I think the average was it might just be 30 now.
Yeah, because I know like some similar shows, like say Game of Thrones, a series, but like kind of movie quality, big budget, such as this. Yep. They kind of varied. Some were less than an hour, some were an hour. Last season was hour and a half plus ish. But I just feel like I want just a hair more.
Yeah.
Like when they break them up in such short pieces every episode. And they have different directors. They don't feel. I've only watched the 2, so it's not like I can say they totally feel different, because they don't. But you can tell subtle differences in the way things were done. But I want a little more meat out of it.
Okay.
just a little more.
Maybe if you watch
and
3,
I think you need a little length in the episode to properly do that.
We should watch 3 tonight. I'd be interested to hear what you think of that one. There's a lot going on in 3.
Yeah, potentially. I just I'm kind of curious now as to what's going to happen there. But so let me say here are what my impressions are thus far. Immediately when I get into the first episode, the introduction of the Mandalorian bounty hunter, epic. It's the way I would have done it. I think it was done really well. It's kind of if you really think about it, it's different because it's not like grounded on Earth, like guy walks into a bar acting all tough and then just takes out some goons. Well, this had the right vibes. The acting was good. Very well done. It wasn't cliche because it just had the right feeling. And I love that there's something about a badass in a helmet. You cover the face and you take it more seriously for some reason. If he ever takes the helmet off, I feel like I'm gonna be like, it's ruined. I don't know what it is, but I really enjoy that mysteriousness. It adds to the allure of a character. Like, it makes him seem more impactful, and I hate to use this word on it, but ominous. Yeah, truly.
It's true.
I think it's just a badass feeling, as cliche as that is. Oh, just a guy in a mask, he thinks he's cool. Well, he kind of is.
So is Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Masks are cool,
him,
man.
It's kind of horror-esque because he takes the mask off and you're like, shit.
You're like, oh my gosh.
Put it back on.
Yeah, for sure. It's like Master Chief, too. Like, I never want to see Master Chief's face.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
it
never,
ruins
ever.
that allure, that feeling
he's
of
mythical.
That character.
He's like
You've built
not
him
human.
up in your mind to something, to your imagination.
At least he's a Spartan.
You don't want to know what he looks like.
No, I don't ever. Nope.
Yeah. I almost don't know how to put that in words, but I feel like anybody who's watched The Mandalorian kind of gets that same feeling. Like, like he's cool, and the less dialogue he has, the better. And when he does talk, I never want him to be. I hope they don't do this. I don't want him to try and be a jokester. And if he ever does, I want it to be kind of dry and serious, but laughable.
Yeah, so far that's even in episode 3, he's not like that. I don't think we need to worry about that at all.
Exactly. Like, I take this guy seriously, even if in episode 2 he seems to get lucky with things happening his way a little bit, and they keep calling him an expert and all that. And to a certain extent, he is, and there's no doubt he has skill. But it's interesting to see the way he takes advantage of happenstance, right?
Sure.
And the technology, his armor and stuff. At first I didn't really think much of his armor, and then you start to see how it's special and everything, and it adds to the allure. I like it. I like the vibes. I like the practical effects for the most part. You can tell the budget's there. It's beautiful. When he brings that bounty back to his ship on the ice, and when they're like, "What's he looking for?" And I'm kind of like, "Huh." I'm thinking like, are there like scavengers or something, or like muggers out on the ice or something looking for people to take advantage of? No, apparently it's some giant ice walrus under the water. Mm-hmm. And it's cool how he's so nonchalant in that opening scene when he gets that bounty, and he's just nonchalant about everything, and it makes you take him seriously as a serious, like, this guy's legit, right? Like, Walrus has a grasp on his freaking outrigger for his ship. He just gets up, the guy's panicking in the ship, like, we're gonna die. He just walks out there, bzz, done, fly away. I mean, yeah, I like the vibes, man. They're doing a good job with it. It's the kind of Star Wars I think I can actually sink my teeth into and enjoy.
Nice. What do you think of that disintegration rifle? He's just blowing people up. They're just gone.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's be honest. He should have just killed all those Jawas, those little guys. He should have rolled into that camp and just, like, brought out his 2 guns and just like, like he should have just like, I'm not.
Yeah, part of me is like,
this.
why didn't he just kill them all?
Kill every. When he started opening fire on them, I was like, whoa, they're gone. Like, it's just ash.
But they did all have guns that like they could fight back
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. But
it's like a tuning fork.
Probably just could have killed them all.
His big gun is like a tuning fork.
I will say the rifle's a little weird looking. Like the stock, you know, it's got like the old timey old muzzle loader wood stock, and it like I kind of like that gritty, earthy, natural vibe to it. But I want it to be slightly more techy, maybe a little bit. I just don't like the shape of it. Like I feel like it's almost like not conducive to battle. Like why would you want like this giant curvature in your stock so that, you know, if when you're holstering it freaking stabs you in the armpit? I don't know.
Yeah.
Not holstering, but you know, ADS in it, you know.
I think it's more of like a wait, what's ADS?
Aim down sight.
Oh, gotcha. I think it's because, like he says, like the Mandalorians, like their weapons are their religion. So maybe it's like kind of like a show. So,
yeah,
like,
so
he
it's
has on his back
for show, decorative.
You see it, and you're like, oh, that guy's not. He's packing real heat. Like that guy's got a real weapon. And that thing, have you seen what else it can do besides shoot?
I know it's got that kind of cattle prod effect, and
yes.
He's also got the vaporizing ammunition, but beyond that, I haven't seen it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, I like the it can kind of cattle prod if you need to, like you can like jack someone in the face.
For some close quarter stuff.
Yeah,
handle your far range, and then somebody gets close, you got them too. So, yeah, I like that. You know, I like that his armor can take a beating. You know, obviously that spoiler alert, but the rhino creature that like freaking just pounds him into the ground. I was like, shit, he's
and like
dead.
the mud on that thing and on him, that whole thing. Yeah, the mud horn, I think is what they call it. But like, yeah,
sure.
that whole fight, you're like, whoa, it's so Indiana Jones, that whole episode. But like he grapples onto it and he just gets pulled around, and you're like, what are you gonna do? What's that gonna do? Like you're just like, I grappled onto it. Good, like, you know, with the little cable. It's just like but do you like when he's trying to crawl up the, I think they're called like ore crawlers, but like with the little jaws, they're kind of throwing rocks on him, and he's like kind of crawling up the side of it, and he's kind of taking him out left and right. He's just like grabbing him out the window, and he's like him, you know.
And some of those guys died, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Like, get us an egg and we'll give you your shit back. We don't care that you killed all of them.
And I think pretty much anyone who's gonna watch us talk about this knows like all that stuff's happened. Well, there's that part where the rock's gonna hit him, but it's very Indiana Jones. He dodges out of the way, but then he does all this stuff, gets the egg, and they just eat it, and he's just like, this is my life. Like,
here's the thing, you know, a lot of shows are kind of going that way these days, where they're very unpredictable and kind of like, whoa, I never thought they would do that to him, but you know, they make it harder on them, and they do that, and it's kind of like a surprise. It's not as straightforward and formulaic as, you know, they could have made it, which I can appreciate.
I thought that was gonna happen, but I also liked how it did happen, because he's just like, this is just so they could be like, yeah, we're eating. Like that's all they cared about.
Yeah, that was kind of like, first of all, gross.
Yeah.
Second of all, really, to eat an egg of a nasty ass rhinoceros thing. Okay, sure.
I need to know before we wrap up about this, 2 other characters. What do you think of I forget his name, but the little Ugnaught guy who's like, I have spoken, and he's just like his little buddy.
Yeah, so he was fine, and you know, I understood his he's just like a good stand-up person or being.
Mm-hmm.
But so I have no qualms with him. I thought he was well done, well spoken.
Yeah.
But overall, here's my thing about Star Wars, and this is probably what's always bugged me just a little bit, is that, you know, the Mandalorian bounty hunter, I can take him so seriously and appreciate his character. Darth Vader, stormtroopers, even a lot of those characters, the Jedi, etc., Yoda to a certain extent. But you start getting so crazy with some of these alien characters, like the blue guy. Okay, you know, he looked legit. I kind of understood it. Sometimes these like humanoid creatures that he runs into, even the guy I have spoken guy on that planet that helps him, sometimes I find a hard time accepting that they're, I don't know how to put it, like they seem too I don't know. It's not really a problem. I think it's something mental in my brain, and I don't know why it is, but I kind of look at them and consider them as more of a cartoony character,
Sure.
or like I don't take them seriously enough for what I'm watching. You know, like to me they seem jarring, like they don't fit. Like the Jawas that scrapped his ship. First of all, there's no freaking way they put that thing back together in like a day and a half or whatever it was.
It was like 2 or 3, right? Wasn't it a couple of days?
Did you
I don't
see
know.
I don't know. Did you see the wires hanging out of that thing? I mean,
That little guy's an
first
Ugnaught.
of all,
He's good.
if somebody did that to your car,
Yeah.
to try and, I mean, wires were snipped and stuff and everything. You could not put that. It would be like building a fighter jet in the middle of the desert with a toolbox.
Well, okay, so the race that guy was, he's called an Ugnaught, and they're like really well known for being like great technicians. So I'm guessing not only did they get their parts back from the Jawas, but he was probably like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna need these other wires that you clearly ripped out, like on your gigantic ship, or you know, I know. Again, a conceit.
I know, and I hate the nitpick at stuff like
That's
that.
fine,
Because,
but
you
the
know,
Jawas,
I'll buy it. They
the
put it
Jawa
back
design,
together, but they had that thing stripped to nothing.
Okay,
like,
but the Jawa
and
design.
all I can think is, I'm like, okay, could somebody build like an F-35 out in the desert with a toolbox and 2 people?
If you have the parts.
Probably freaking not.
If you have the parts, though, right? They got the parts back.
Whatever, man. Whatever. I don't know.
This is a show that has lightsabers in its show. They are uncapped light beams.
I know. So I have to suspend a little bit of disbelief, and yeah, it's fine. I don't have a lot of complaints. I actually got real good vibes from it. I enjoyed it.
The
I
Jawa
thought
design,
it was really. The Jawas again are one of those characters where I'm like, I kind of take them seriously, but other times I'm kind of like, they kind of put them in there. They're kind of like jokey.
How about the baby?
Like, yeah. So spoiler, baby Yoda or a baby Yoda.
I think it's just a species.
Yeah. So it's not actually Yoda, but it's like because this takes place after. This would be just prior to like The Last Jedi or The Rise of Skywalker or somewhere.
This takes place 6 years after Return of the Jedi, which
is not the most recent. That is the most recent movie that was released.
No, I'm sorry.
Right?
The most recent one was The Last Jedi. Return of the Jedi was the one from the 1980s. Luke Skywalker beats Darth Vader.
So when does Rogue One happen?
Rogue One happens just before A New Hope, the very first Star Wars film.
Yep, and this happens.
This one happens like 6 years after Return of the Jedi. When I don't know, that would be like maybe I don't know if it's like a decade.
Where does New Hope fall against this one? It's New Hope. What?
A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and then 6 years jump this movie or this show.
Okay.
I know it's hard to keep straight.
Is Yoda around at this time?
Yoda turned into a Force ghost, so no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something's gonna happen where he discovers that this baby of Yoda's species is like important, right?
Well,
so
he's already seen it, right? Because in that fight, like
Yeah.
I say, just suspend your disbelief for anything. It's the baby that can like telekinetically raise this thing with its mind. It's just like, ooh, like
use the Force, right? So he saw that, but he doesn't like. Does he not know about the Force?
I think he does. I think some people do, but some people still think it's a bunch of hooey.
Hocus pocus, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not. They weren't alive when there was tons of Jedi roaming the galaxy.
I saw some sort of snippet or preview on Instagram. I'm pretty sure that when he gives the kid up for the bounty, he second guesses.
We'll have to watch it and find out.
As it floats away. Yeah.
All I gotta say is it's pretty good, dude. It's like
I'm interested to see what happens. Jon Favreau associated with this, by the way.
He's so good.
Sense. He is good. I'm actually every turn I'm very impressed by him.
Well, Dave Filoni, and Dave Filoni is the guy who did Star Wars Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, those animated shows. So those two guys work together, and I guess a little bit with George Lucas on this to kind of recapture that original trilogy feel, but also kind of modernize it. And I feel like this is the love letter that a lot of Star Wars fans were waiting for. Like this is kind of like, hey, do you remember old Star Wars? We do too, and we're gonna take it seriously.
I'm starting to understand why there's such a big interest in Star Wars, why it is such a phenomenon. I like some of the lore and the in between stuff, and like, you know, maybe not even the actual movie focuses, but like the why and hows, and like what did Darth Vader do when he wasn't, you know, fighting the Jedi and stuff, like, you know, like how he healed his body, and, you know, the death of his wife Padme, right?
Very
like,
good.
visiting her tomb and stuff like that. And I'm like,
it's good stuff.
it is very interesting, and
Just impressed.
I understand why these characters can be very compelling, and there's complexities to it all, and why they are who they are, that sort of stuff. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know. More to come. I think we need to. Oh my God, listen to me. I've done a 180. Shame on me. I was a naysayer for a while. I just never gave it the time. First of all, I still don't even know when I'll ever be able to go and just kind of like watch them in order per se. You know,
on Disney Plus.
I don't know if you I don't know if you recommend like going in order.
I don't know. For you, I would probably go out of order just because I know you're a big tech guy. So like, it might be hard to go from Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope, and that's a pretty big jump from like 2005 back to 1970s, 77. Yeah, that's a pretty rough jump. Like, you're like, whoa, and like the saber combat goes from the greatest saber combat to like two old men just beating bats against each other. Like,
yeah, so it's
not much.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you're right. I think if nothing else, I kind of want to get some of the background of the characters and such. But I haven't seen. Maybe I just need to kind of accept that I know enough to be dangerous, and maybe not dabble with the stuff I might be less interested in because it's so dated. And shame on me for saying that. I'm sure some people are like, "You son of a bitch," but like. Maybe I should just go back, rewatch per se Rogue One, and then watch what was the last one, the Return of the Jedi.
Oh, the Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi, okay. And then the Rise of Skywalker. Is that what's coming next?
Yes.
But that's going back in time?
Nope, that's going forward.
Okay, good.
Episodes always typically go forward, usually.
Okay. Anywho, that's the one that comes out this December, right?
That's correct.
Yes. All right, good. So then if I go back and rewatch these and get to that point, I'll be more familiar with what's coming up here in December, which perhaps we get together for. And may I say, I think some people didn't like that Adam Driver played. Why does the name escape me for a second?
Kylo
Ren. Which a cool name, by the way.
Sick name. Yeah, I got a poster.
Yeah. I like him.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I
good.
I think he plays a good.
He does what he has to.
Guy.
Yeah. He's tormented.
Yeah, for sure. And when you first meet him, because I was watching some YouTube clips and whatnot, when you first meet him, he's very striking and intimidating until he shows off his weak moments and such, right?
Yeah, like, keep the mask on. That's my problem with him.
Yeah, because when he takes the mask off, you want him to still have that same intimidation factor.
He only should have taken it off when he met up with Han. That's the moment he should have taken the mask off.
Sure.
That would have been so impactful. He'd have been like, oh my gosh.
Actually, you're right.
And it would have humanized him in that moment. I'm Kathleen Kennedy. We are ready and willing, baby. Let's go. We're ready.
Well, so riddle me this. His helmet is like, what, 1,000,000 pounds, and he keeps his head lifted through the Force?
Somehow, maybe, yeah, it's pretty heavy. Yeah, when he drops it, it seems like it's like a thud.
Boom, and it does not move. Like, it is like...
It's lead. That's what's messing with his mind.
Like, it's bowling ball weight, like, or more. Like, that thing.
It's made of Beskar steel, and it'll reflect anything.
The other thing I need to do is at least go back and watch the scene or the movie where Darth Vader dies.
Okay.
Spoiler alert for those who haven't watched, but apparently he dies.
He does die, yeah. Kind of. And then he comes back as a Force ghost. Which really pissed some people off because then, like, they took the original actor who was like his Force ghost and put Hayden Christensen in there instead. And I know that frustrates a lot of people, but it makes sense to me because it's like, well, if he's going to come back as a Force ghost, it's going to come back as like when he was the last time he was a Jedi. It's not going to be like creepy, crusty, like I have no limbs, just like a floating carcass ghost.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
It's going to be like...
He does go out doing something just and right.
That's why he's the chosen one. A lot of people think it's Luke, Joe, but they're wrong, because the only person who's trying to bring balance to the Force is good old Vader. Knocks out all the Jedi, takes out the other Sith. If he would have killed Luke, it would have been even Steven. That's all I'm trying to say. Also, I was thinking about this. They call it Return of the Jedi. I wonder if that just means it's Vader. Like, Anakin's coming back as a Jedi. Like, at the end of that movie. It's not so much Luke. It's more Vader being like, hey, I am a Jedi again.
What's the one where Luke is projecting himself onto the
that is The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Yeah, which is universally known as the one that people don't like, which is kind of funny. I heard that in another person's vlogging from like Disney, and they're talking about that scene put into Star Tours or a show or a ride down there. And they're like, it's the movie that nobody likes. I was like,
but that killed Luke. He died, right?
It did kill him. Yeah, turned into a ghost. He just vaped out or something. I don't know.
And this next movie is called
Rise of Skywalker.
Interesting.
Which could be him, it could be Rey's parentage, or Rey's just becoming a Skywalker, or it could be Anakin coming back.
There's a theory out there that Rey is a offspring of
Obi-Wan?
No, the bad guy.
Darth Sidious. Palpatine.
No, Palpatine, yep.
Yeah, that's his Sith name. If you're a bad guy, Joe, in Star Wars, you get your regular name, and then you get Darth blank. Like, you get to have a cool name.
I figured that one out when everybody.
I'm just saying for you,
Vader,
when you get the dark saber and you turn evil immediately, we're gonna call you Darth something. Like, his name is Joe, but he's also Darth like Annihilus or something.
They call me Darth Big Diesel.
DVD, you know what I'm saying?
DVD.
He's unstoppable. The Darksaber, by the way, has got a fun tie to the Mandalorians too. If you hold that, like the dark, it's all over the place. So that you might be talking about a different lightsaber now, because that might be Legends continuity. But the Darksaber is like, if you hold that, you like rule Mandalore, and like all the Mandalorians, like that's how it used to be back in the day. They used to fight Jedi with it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, interesting. You should try looking it up sometime off screen. But it was interesting to learn about, because I was curious, is there really a black one? You said yes, and I was like, oh, what's it all about? So I went and looked, and they had a name for the crystal and everything. There's a whole history on it, and maybe it's all, just canon. That's not really formal, but there was a lot of basis to it, and there's a lot of artwork to go along with that to reinforce it. So, but apparently it was one of the most powerful, if not the one that they referenced that was tied to a Sith, was basically unstoppable, or probably the most evil thing in the universe, kind of a deal. So it was really cool. There's so much cool stuff out there, and I'm sure a lot of the big Star Wars fans, I know there are some that listen, are probably like, yeah, come on, you didn't know this? Like,
well, did you find out, does it cut through other sabers? Because I remember that's what red lightsabers used to do. Okay, it can. Like, they can, but they don't always. Yeah, it's tricky. Exactly. That's why lightsaber fights are scary.
Like a synthetic red crystal, synthetic number one. Well, okay. It's weird. For some reason, when I think of synthetic, I'm like thinking I'm comparing like a synthetic diamond to a real diamond.
Yeah, no, you honestly are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like, what's really harder? Well,
that's how it used to be, but now they don't have synthetic crystals anymore.
Okay.
Because the new process of bleeding a crystal is to like pour your hatred and anger into it, and then turn it from like blue, green, purple, or yellow into red.
So it starts out as a natural one, and it is a natural one forevermore, and you just created it via that. Okay.
I believe that's the way it works now. So like,
I think that's reinforced. They were talking about that in one of the videos, in fact. But yeah, it's like the crystal of power and something else, power and
wisdom.
Power and something else. It was bad.
Oh, hatred.
Yeah,
probably something like that.
Anywho, cool. It is cool. Apparently in Disney World, Disneyland, Galaxy's Edge, you can buy replicas of Vader, Skywalker's.
Oh, they're lightsabers?
Lightsaber.
Oh, the hilts. Yeah,
and they're cheaper than building your own, believe it or not.
I could see that. Weirdly.
Yeah.
Some of those old lightsabers are clunky.
I couldn't, but
Luke's lightsaber is clunky. Legit. It does not look like you could wield it well. There's like big things sticking off of it.
Oh, really? Because his looks like it's got like a little, like it actually narrows down up at the end of the hilt and then expands again like a candlestick kind of a deal.
Kind of a little, yeah. Vader's a little more streamlined, which I've always loved.
Vader's is nice looking.
But when you have robotic hands, you don't really care how it handles. Handles? You see what I did there? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Kylo Ren's is weird. Like I feel like the two little, at the top of the hilt, the two little offshoots.
That's kind of fun, right?
Yeah, like they work well for battle. You get close to somebody, you just go in for the eye with it. But at the same time, it's like I feel like I want nothing but the long part. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm gonna nick myself somewhere.
That's why I think double-sided lightsabers are just asking for trouble. You're just asking to cut yourself in half.
Actually a good weapon? Probably not. The second you twirl and go behind your back, it slices the back of your thigh, and your arteries are just bleeding out. It's like, it's over.
You're fainting immediately. Like, there's because that happens to Obi-Wan. He gets hit like twice in Attack of the Clones, just little bits, and then he just is knocked out because it's like 4th degree burn. And you're like, oh my god! Like, yeah.
Needless to say, lots of interesting stuff to it. Sometimes the only thing that just works against me is sometimes I'll be watching like clips of movies, and the new ones seem pretty great, and I can tolerate most of the kind of zany looking alien characters. They speak and everything, and I like how they do make them speak like different languages a lot of the time. Like they actually have like their own, native tongue type of a deal, but sometimes it's a little jarring to see some really odd looking, cartoony looking, what's the word, practical effects, like real makeup and everything and prosthetics. I can appreciate that, but sometimes they're just done so oddly that like, is this real? Like, that's really a thing? Like, I'm just kind of like, it's a little too zany for me to accept it sometimes. But I come full circle. I understand it. It's fine.
I heard that, I just saw this on IGN. There's a little article, Werner Herzog, who plays that kind of evil Imperial or a guy from the Empire in The Mandalorian, actually kind of fell in love with the little like Baby Yoda species thing, and he was like kind of talking with it and stuff. And they were going to switch him out for a full like CGI character, and I guess on set he called them a bunch of cowards, and he's like, leave it. He's like, no, do not replace this, leave it in there, just like, make it good.
What?
Like the little puppet.
Oh, the Yoda prop?
Yeah, because like sometimes it's CG very briefly, but they were thinking about fully CGing it, but he was like, no, keep the real thing in there. Like, he's like, don't switch it out.
It's totally fine. And
it's great.
The only thing I don't like, so apparently it's 50 years old, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They age slowly.
It's very interesting, but I gotta say this: I don't like that it has a baby voice.
I completely agree, and they use the stock baby noises that you've heard a million times before, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, part of me is just like,
you didn't need to do that. Give it its own squeaks. Give it its own stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You're Star Wars, for God's sakes. Like, you've got ILM. Like, you could make the coolest sounds on the planet. Like, make something better.
It weirds me out just a hair.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, it's probably one of the cutest things you'll ever see in your life, and it makes you sad inside.
You look at like the sun beaming through its ears, and like you see the little hairs and stuff all over it, and you're like, wow, this is really good. Like, there's a lot of money in this thing. Yeah. Also, I could just watch the freaking Mando just walk around for 10 hours. That armor is so freaking cool. Like, you just stare at it, and you're like, look at this.
Oh, the other one little nitpick. Don't get me wrong. Like, I give this thing already 2 episodes in. I'm sitting at like a hot 9 or so.
Oh, whoa, look at that.
But yeah, I laid it on you quick.
I like it.
Surprise. So don't get me wrong when I pick out some of these little things that I'm not quite fond of, but they don't hide much. Like, you get every detail of this, and the quality's there. When he gets to that planet and he's laying on the rock and he's scouting with his little scope, and he sees the bounty robot, which the bounty robot was kind of cool, by the way, almost a little OP.
Yeah, that was Taika Waititi too, the one that I thought was going to be too much.
Really?
I was really worried they were going to go too.
It was cool.
He was great. I thought he was really cool too.
So he's laying on the rock. I remember at that moment, and then I haven't been able to not notice it since then. But like his boots are like I feel like I could go buy those boots at Fleet Farm and pop them on right now.
I'm gonna have to look at the boots. I'm bothered.
Everybody's like, "What the hell's Fleet Farm?" Unless they're from the Midwest.
No, they know what it is. How about like the blue arrow on his right arm? There's like he has like a white glove kind of not a pauldron, but a white kind of glove greave that's got like a little blue arrow on the back of his hand. Have you noticed that?
Oh, I didn't really notice that. I was wondering what he's always doing on his arm. Like he's almost like doing Predator type stuff.
Yes, it is Predator type stuff. Like typing stuff in and like I think contacting the ship or the one thing that I was hearing that I thought was funny is how do those key fobs work? Because they'll give you those little fobs and you're like, what are they tracking? Because you walk. It's not like they put this thing on the bounty themselves. Because he'll just walk around and it'll be like beep beep beep. Like and you're like,
yeah. Like I'm wondering, is that like, did they have like an implant when they were once jailed for a day and they put an implant in them in case they skipped town or something like that?
That's probably good.
Because they're trying to outrun their bounties. They I don't know, something of that nature. That's what I was assuming.
Kudos in that first story for visual storytelling or that first episode where that guy he freezes them in carbonite, but the guy sees like 4 or 5 bounties that he already has. So it basically shows that our protagonist is capable. You're like, oh yeah, he caught these other guys.
Oh yeah.
You're like,
again,
whoa.
Going back to why that introduction to him is so impactful and right.
It's like, it chops that dude in the door. There's no blood because it's not gonna be like R-rated, but like when he chops it, it's like thump thump. You're like, whoa.
When they showed that, I was immediately all in. I was like, holy shit, this is my type of Star Wars.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he's killed. Like he's. And in the next episode, you'll see him kill somebody in a pretty like rough way, and you're like, "Whoa, okay."
Yeah,
I was not ready for Star Wars to be like, "Yeah, I'm cool with that." Like, yeah,
I was all about it. I was like, "This is what this needs to be."
Yeah, there needs to be more of this, more chopping, more.
That was
not
so
blood,
cool,
but...
and everybody in the bar is just like,
"They're like, whoa, shoot, yeah."
I loved it.
Well, good. I'm glad you're digging it, man. That's good.
I also like that he has a reputation. I don't know a lot about the Mandalorians, but like the man who says "I have spoken" talks about the man. You're a Mandalorian. You guys used to be yeah. I kind of like that. I don't know a lot about him, so I'm interested to learn more. But I like that his race, or first of all, him in general, he's got a reputation, but like his people have sounds like quite a reputation as well, which they introduce that a little bit, which I think is a good move, and it kind of adds a more substantial feeling about him.
Yeah, and he might himself not actually be from Mandalore, where the Mandalorians are from, because it sounds like later on it kind of shifts where it's like you can become a Mandalorian. Like that's what they talk about, the foundlings and stuff, where they're like kids. So
it's not necessarily born.
Like, and I don't care if he is or he isn't. He is a Mandalorian, and it's like it's his creed. It's like he's become a monk, and like this is his monastery. It's just that it's guns and stuff.
I didn't understand the metal chip that they gave that guy gave him for the bounty at
Beskar, or is that what it's called?
Apparently, yeah, it was a special metal that's what they used to forge armor. So he gets a new shoulder shield that was interesting.
You'll see more of that, but that's like super armor that can like deflect and take blaster shots.
Yeah.
Which is really nice in this business, because not everybody can afford that. And if you wear it, it basically puts a big target on your back. It's like, oh, this guy's serious. Also, you haven't seen his vibroblade yet.
Oh, great. All right. I'm more excited.
Yeah. It's the one of the few things that can counter a lightsaber. Yeah, you'll be like, what is that? I don't know if you'll like it, but yeah, it's cool.
All I'm saying, biggest qualm with the whole thing thus far, fix the boots.
Fix the boots. Get the boots fixed.
Like seriously, I want the boots to be a little more fitting for his outfit. Like I get that he's rugged and he can, walk through the mud with the rest of them and like be badass, but like I want his boots to be a little cooler. Like I don't want them to be like brown leather work boots that I bought from Menards the other day for my new job at a construction firm,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you can even see like the cuff sticking out behind his armor pad or something with his pants. It didn't work well. You could see it was kind of like riding on one another, and in the back tongue of the boot with the little loop was sticking out. I was like, son of a bitch. Who's in charge of wardrobe? Kathy? Kathy, his boots are back. They're in my shot. fix them.
I am gonna have to look at this. I love how much you focused in on this super detail.
I'm a devil for the details, and you know, I try to accept most details for what they are. Not everything's ever going to be perfect. I try to find good in everything, but like certain details like that, I think for some reason aesthetics are important in stuff like this.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Make it right. Like, and I didn't like that. I looked at the sole of the boot and I saw like a logo between the heel and the forefoot. And I was like,
oh, really?
What are those Wolverine work boots from Walmart?
It's Star Wars. It's probably Star Wars branded. They probably have a whole freaking like story about these.
Disney on the bottom.
That would be great.
It ticked me off. I was like, no.
Do you like the concept art they use for the credits sequence?
I do, yeah. That's almost like the what do they call that when they draw out the scenes?
Storyboarding.
Storyboard.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool because I've always had an affinity for art a little bit. You know, my profession kind of steered me away from it a little bit. I still use it, but I can really appreciate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
you're a talented artist.
I really think it's neat. So
yeah.
Anywho, that's my take on The Mandalorian, pal.
I love it.
Believe it or not, The Mandalorian is not what kind of swayed my opinion of Star Wars in general. In my defense, I only ever like kind of said, "Oh, who cares about Star Wars?" because I had never really gotten into it at all, or ever gave it a chance, or watched any of it.
Yeah.
But now that, believe it or not, Mandalorian isn't what turned me or swayed me to liking it. It was more so random YouTube crap online where I'm just like, really? That's how that came about, huh? Oh, Sith guy. Wow, there's more than just Darth Maul and Vader? Huh.
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
like,
man.
The things I was learning, I was like, wow, this is more like Lord of the Rings-esque than I pictured.
Well,
and so next thing you know, here I am, and I'm like, all right, I got to give The Mandalorian a shot because, you know, it's new upcoming. I got to check it out now that I know a little bit about something. And it did not disappoint. And I like that I can bundle my Disney Plus with Hulu, which is nice. So
I have to figure that out. I think I screwed that up.
So I don't know if I did or not. So what I read, and for all the people listening, you can look this up and verify for us if you'd be so kind. But I Googled it, and it took me to the Hulu site, and it said, if you want to bundle your Disney Plus with Hulu, go to the Disney Plus site, sign in using the same email and password that you use for Hulu, and it will bundle your package automatically. Hulu and Disney Plus will both charge you, but Disney Plus will credit you the full amount for your non-ad free subscription to Hulu. So they both bill you, but Disney always sends you a credit for the what is a with ad version of Hulu. Is that like $5.99 or something like that?
I don't know. I just want to find a way to get Hulu back for the two shows I need, which are My Hero Academia and The Bachelor. So
yeah,
I'm all over the place.
Needless to say, I know that was long-winded, but that's how you do it, and it seemed to work for me. I just got to pay attention to my billing to see that Disney credits me the Hulu subscription.
Crap!
That's what Hulu says it does.
I already have the Disney Plus though.
I didn't have to enter in any payment information on Disney Plus.
Okay, well.
Or wait, I did. Hold on, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's
Either way.
I'm going to try to figure it out. I started with Disney Plus, and I want to add Hulu to it, so I'm going to wait and see if they give me a bundle deal.
Because you don't have an actual Hulu account.
I don't know.
Okay.
Nope. I was leeching off Levi's, and then he got rid of it, and then he was on it the other night, and I'm like, you got Hulu back? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, great. Thanks for telling me, man. That's okay.
Yeah, well, now you can bundle with Disney. You're all good.
I'll try to. I don't know if I can do it the reverse way. That's okay. That's either here or there. I bet people have like like, oh, why are they talking about this? Let's move on, Joe. We're moving on back to. I have kept it on you, the camera on you for so long. I love it. It's good.
Listening to this,
yep.
Probably found that useful.
You're welcome, people. We're moving into that last segment of the show. My personal favorite, which is community feedback and
questions.
Thank you. I almost said it for you. So, Joe, here we go. I asked our lovely Legionnaires, because it's Thanksgiving this week here in the States. And regardless if you celebrate that or not, even if you're not in the States, it's always...
Gobble, mother trucker.
I think of it more of like, just be thankful for stuff. And you can do that any time of the year if you'd like to. But I just wanted to ask them what they were the most thankful for when it came to games, movies, and or TV this year. Just to kind of keep it specific. This comes in from our buddy Ryan. Ryan, we love you so much. He says, I'm thankful for all the great content out there to play and watch. Oh, that's a nice little catch-all. That's nice. Our buddy at Mecha on Twitter. He says, I'm thankful we got a good, and that's capital, in all caps, good single-player Star Wars game without any microtransactions. Amen to that, brother. I can't believe it. I can't believe they're not like $20 for the black lightsaber. I could see him doing it.
Is there one?
Not that I know of yet. I could see them trying to charge for that. I forget if Jay wants me to pronounce it Aldera. But currently I'm thankful that I'm getting to pal around with BD-1, who is the little droid in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Also a good one. We have a question, just one question here from Missile Mage, as we always do, and his questions are always fire over on Discord. So #CriticalPodcast. He says, is there any video game you wish you had played when it first released? Maybe because you think you'd have loved it at launch, but it hasn't aged too well, or maybe some social aspect. Joe, do you have any video games you'd wish you'd played at launch, like back in the day, or anything like that?
I feel like there's got to be some.
Like maybe maybe like the first Modern Warfare. Did you play that at launch?
No, I did not. But back then, I feel like it wasn't very important to me, and I didn't have friends to play with.
Okay, sure.
So like now, I'm trying to think of one that was like, my friends got in, and I was late to the game.
Like World of Warcraft might have been kind of fun for the first like month or two. Like it's like this big crazy thing that people didn't really know. Maybe. Yeah,
maybe.
Or Halo 2, maybe. Like if we could go back and like we knew how big of a deal. Like I know some people did play it at launch. I didn't play it at launch. I didn't have an Xbox. That would have been fun.
Yeah, I didn't really have my own Xbox or anything until I was like 23, 22.
Yeah.
No, 21.
Yeah.
But like till like my junior year in college.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question. I think, since I've got real into gaming, probably 2013, any game I was interested in or that my friends were picking up or that I knew I was going to get some time into, I've picked up at launch. You've kind of helped me with that.
I try.
If I know we're going to bro down on something, I'm there day one. But I'm trying to think. No.
I was trying to think like Final Fantasy VII or something, or like one of those old RPGs that maybe like playing it back when it first came out and the graphics were like, oh my gosh, like nowadays hasn't aged super well. Yeah, maybe one of those, like an old FF game.
Call of Duty Black Ops 1, the first one. I honestly wish, so my buddy Drew had it in college. I didn't have my own system or anything, so it was always like split screen,
Nice.
And there were like 4 of us buds hanging out in the dorm room, and we're like, all right, person who gets least amount of kills has to give up the controller to the next guy, and then we'll just keep going.
No wonder you're so hyper aggressive. It makes sense now.
Yeah. So there's always a competition of who can keep the controller the longest. You can ask Drew about that; he'll talk about it. But if I would have my own console, I would have loved to have been there day one and be able to link up and play together. And just have that kind of more freedom to not be on stupid split screen, which, let's face it, sucks.
I don't think I had, or another one like Pokemon Red and Blue, like right at launch. That would have been cool. Yeah. I think. Like
you don't regret not having Black Ops 1 to play that multiplayer with me right off the bat when we first met?
No, we played it. We played it later on.
We did later
on. We played on and PlayStation when it was free online, and no one was playing on PlayStation Online, but we were.
What?
We played Black Ops 1 online, like the PlayStation Online when online was free. Because PlayStation used to not charge for their online services. So we played Black Ops 1 online together against...
Bull crap. No, I never had a PlayStation that could do that.
You had a PS3?
I would have needed a PS3.
You had a PS3?
I never had one. No.
Either that or you came and played with me in my room.
Probably that, or I played on Drew's? No. I had a 360 with it. That was it. But whatever. the debate's over. The people are like, "Come on, guys, yeah, we get it. You played it together. You guys played a lot of
buddies, all right." Yeah.
That
would have been fun.
But, yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I don't think I've had too many or nothing that's crazy worth mentioning. So
Gears of War 1 launch day. I remember seeing it at my buddy's house, and I was terrified of it. I was like, "This game is too pretty and also very scary." I was like, ugh. Yep. Good times. Just chainsawing through a wretch. I was like, "What is this game?" I was like, "Is this like a horror game?" And he's like, "No, but kind of." And I was like, okay. All right. And now I'm the biggest Gears fan out of my friends. None of them play it anymore. I'm the only one who plays it. Oh, gosh. Anyway, if you ever have a question or a topic for the show, for this kind of weird ramshackle thing we throw together every week, all you have to do is tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast, or you can just put it in the Discord. You can tweet at our official account, which is at @GoCritical, or you can tweet at me personally. I'm at JimmyGood013. I task you with tweeting at me a funny superhero GIF that's like a superhero in a movie, but it's got some text on there that doesn't necessarily match up. Good luck, Ryan. Joe, if they want to find you, where can they find you?
Well, I can find see the hat here. It says Diesel. What does that say? Diesel Power. Diesel Power for Big Diesel.
You can find him at Diesel Power.
My name is Big Diesel. I like playing Call of Duty. You can you can reach me at Lever_627. Lever just like Beaver, only with an L. Most of you know it. I need to get more into Twitter, guys. Jimmy tasks you with, sending him these funny gifts and brightening his day with some fun stuff.
I try to.
I challenge you guys to send me some Star Wars gifts.
I can't believe it.
Stuff that you think would make me more interested. Give me some Sith stuff, memes. I want memes.
I
would like that.
I've led this horse to water so many times, and finally it's lapping it up, and I'm like.
And I will respond with the most sincere thank you if you put hashtag indubitably at the end.
Yeah, which I forget this week's hashtag. I think should just probably be Star Wars, because we got you into it a little bit.
Yeah. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think I can, especially these newer ones. I think I can be more accepting towards and kind of get into them more because God, there's so much quality there and stuff to awe at or jaw drop at.
Yeah.
So, there's a hook in me.
Yeah.
Slowly reeling me in. I'm almost to the boat.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I also have a question I want to pose to everyone who's made it this far. Maybe not everybody has. We usually have anywhere from 10 to 20 people who watch these things. And I don't know why, like with OBS, like sometimes it overloads the encoder. So I'm trying to figure out, sometimes the video quality isn't super great here. My question to you guys is, would you also like to have an audio version only of this? Because we do have a website, which is just gocriticalreviews.com, where we could put that and then maybe put that through like an RSS feed and then like goes out. So I don't know if you guys would like an audio version of it too. And I just like, let us know what you like about the show. How can we make it better? Because we've been doing this for almost 200 episodes, and that's a lot.
It's 40.
It's a lot, man. And I was hoping that if I kept it going, we have a diehard base here, which is very important, but I'd like to see this thing grow. So maybe there's something, maybe it's an algorithm thing. I would love to figure out a way to make this show, to perform a little better. And I know they have this new thing out there where it's like you have to decide every video you upload, is it for kids or not. I don't think necessarily saying that the show is for kids is going to help its metrics. Like, it's not necessarily going to be the case, especially with Joe here. This is adults only. But I want to know from the people, you did, but I want to know from the people if there's any way that we could make this show punchier or something else you'd like. We can't record in person like you saw at the beginning of this show because we live very far away from each other.
As righteous and amazing as it was.
It would be, it was great. It was righteous, very much so. But I just want to know if you made it to this point, like just seriously, let us know, what you think of the show. How could we make it more fun to listen to? And if there's something, like if you'd rather have us be a show where there's just like no news and it's just like specific one topic where we just talk about Pirates of the Caribbean for a full episode, we could do that. Or would you rather just have it be news and be like 30 minutes or 40? I don't know. I just want to know what people think, because there's people out there watching this show. They're watching it. Somebody is right now. They're listening to it. Yeah. It's probably Ryan.
We appreciate it. Thank you, Ryan.
I appreciate it. And everyone else who makes it to this point. I love them.
Consider the comments, the comment section below. Consider that a suggestion box. Love to hear suggestions. Why not? Great ideas from outside sources.
Give it to us.
The consumers, so to speak.
And it's not a trash can.
Place to get it.
Like the suggestion box at any workplace I've ever worked at, they just call it the trash can. I'm like, oh no, that's not what it is here. We want to hear them because I legitimately take them to heart. I take them right here. I'm like, and then I cry.
However, if we see something like, you guys might as well quit, this podcast sucks, I'll find where you live. I'll kill you.
No, he will kill you with kindness, which is the name of my katana. That's what I named it Catharsis. I'm like, I just need a little catharsis, and then I just grab it. Oh my gosh, yeah. I wonder if anyone's still listening.
I kid.
He's a kidder. We kid here. No, we do appreciate it. And honestly, there are two things that I'm thankful for when it comes to this show. All right. First thing, everybody listening, everybody watching, and not just, we have the Patreon and all that stuff, but like, I'm just thankful for you, dear listener, dear viewer, whomever you might be. Thank you. Thank you so much. You can watch and listen to anybody, but you decide to hang out with us here every week, and I appreciate that so much. And the other thing that I'm super thankful for is this guy right here, Joe. I'm thankful for you and your friendship.
He's little Pete.
You're my best friend, and I love you. I do. I'm appreciative. You're killing me.
You're making me blush. Luckily, it's a little dark.
He's got his little cat. I don't like that it says cat on there. I prefer it say dog, but
dog diesel power.
Let's open up our own caterpillar, but call it dog.
Happy Thanksgiving to anyone and everyone out there, and especially to you, Jimmy, and thankful for you as well, pal.
Thanks,
and
brother.
The fun we have in this little fun. I'm trying to think of a snazzy word to put on this thing, but this podcast and the CR group all together, it's fun. We have a good time.
We do. And I look forward to whatever thing we talk about next, because no matter what it is, we always have a good time talking about it. It's just some weeks there's just nothing new to talk about, so we can talk about something old.
Well, we can talk about what Levi's been up to. I'm sure his time killer session should be like 3 hours long. I mean, I hear rumblings of him coming back, next week?
I think
December?
I'm hoping so, yeah, because we talked about November and it just didn't happen. And I think he has been branching out to other things besides World of Warcraft, which is fine. You can totally play Classic.
I heard they're going to shut the World of Warcraft servers down next week.
I wish that were true. I wish it were true. I was trying to figure out a night that he wasn't raiding, and I was like, you can be on the show, but it's pretty serious business if you're in the raiding biz. Yeah, it's a vicious cycle, though, and I think that's why I'm glad you never got into it, Joe, because I think they'd hook you. It's like Monster Hunter, but worse. You know what I mean? Like, the drop rates for the item or the armor you need is super low, so you just got to keep farming them until you get that thing, and then that makes you stronger for the next boss that you're going to try to do in shorter amounts of time.
I'm over it. I'm over it already.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't have that much patience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. And that much time. It takes a lot of time. Time sensitive. Anyway, thank you. This is our wrap up. So long, but appreciate it once again. Thanks to everybody. Thanks you, Joe. Thank you for hanging out with us. And until next week, just remember to adapt and overcome. Bye bye.
Big Diesel out.
Perfect. I know. I've told you. No, I know. What are you talking about? Okay. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, Legionnaires. Until next time, remember to adapt and overcome.
I will see you next time.
There we go. Perfect. Nailed it.